Well, joining us once again for the weekly entertainment panel is Abby St. John. Abby, it's almost time for Halloween. I know next week we'll talk a little bit more about some of our favorite type Halloween movies in terms of horror, but we're talking a little bit more on a broad spectrum here because of people that have really helped shape the horror industry into what it is today, like some big names in movies. And there's three in particular that really kind of got the ground running for that genre.
Yes, definitely. Now, with horror, there's like any other movie genre, there's multiple subgenres within the larger horror scheme. It's kind of like an umbrella. There's many different types of horror movies, starting with slasher and paranormal, and then you have the zombie slash monster movies. So there's definitely different types of movies for everybody because some people may not be into the ghosts or the paranormal, but they could be into the classic slashers with all the gore and the blood. Now, you did mention that there were many directors and producers who have paved the way for horror. George A. Romero, who did Night of the Living Dead, he is known as the father of the zombie film, and that pegged the way for many different zombie movies, TV shows, The Walking Dead, and that kind of stuff. So he did that big series, Night of the Living Dead. He also did Creepshow as well. And then you have John Carpenter, who did Halloween and The Thing and The Fog. So you have different types of horror movies under his belt, Halloween being one of his biggest successes, Jamie Lee Curtis being pegged one of the scream queens of the horror genre. Halloween has made multiple movies, including the 2018 remake, and they're pegged for two more films after that. 2021, we're going to see another one, and then 2022 will be the final Halloween movie. So that's definitely exciting that we're still today's audience will still be able to live the Halloween movies that people back in the 70s were and 80s were able to experience as well. And then you have Wes Craven, who gave us the Scream franchise, which is one of my favorite horror franchises. And then you also have A Nightmare on Elm Street, which was one of a great classic slasher movies, which is still big here today. It's actually being played at May Cinema 6 tonight. That's just an incredible one. It's what got Johnny Depp's career started. So that one is also a huge, huge movie. And then he also directed The Hills Have Eyes, which is also another creepy, very gory movie, but it is definitely very good if you're into the bigger slasher horror genre. And then you have Jason Blum, who isn't a director, but he is a producer who has his own production company called Blumhouse Productions. Now, they do a lot more non-horror movies as well, but some notable ones going into the paranormal, Sinister, all the Paranormal Activities, and Insidious. He produced all of those, and then Happy Death Day, which was over a few years ago. He also produced that one as well. And then you also have William Friedkin, who did The Exorcist, which is still a classic to this day because that one really paved the way for paranormal movies. That one really set the course and set the stage for many, many decades of paranormal movies after that. So those are some of the directors and producers who have really paved the way for horror movies today, and then a lot of those are still classics to this day that people still pull inspiration from, or are showing their children, showing this generation these movies, really showing where horror started, and they still hold up to this day, and I still get a little bit creeped out by some of them to this day.
Yeah, I get creeped out by horror movies just in general, just because that's kind of who I am. I'm more of an it person myself, but that's the next week topic there. But another one, I know you mentioned TV with Walking Dead being another big kind of horror type TV show. I know Ryan Murphy, who we all know from Glee. We didn't know he had this kind of side to him. I know he's pretty famous for American Horror Story, which has had a big impact when it comes to the world of television there, Abby.
Yes, it's going on. It's on its 10th season right now, but it's been going on for 9 years so far. And it's a murder or a horror anthology. So every season's different, but they do have a lot of returning stars: Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson, Kathy Bates, Dennis O'Hare, Jessica Lange, Angela Bassett. They've all been in multiple seasons of this show, just playing different characters. So you have Murder House at the first season, which is a haunted house that, anyone who lives in there ends up being murdered. And then Asylum, taking a look at a mental institution. Coven, dealing with a coven of witches. Freak Show, which is kind of like a carnival circus type show. And then Hotel, which gave Lady Gaga her first Golden Globe for Best Actress. That one deals with more vampires and the undead and blood sucking type of that. Then Roanoke, which is actually kind of loosely based on a real story of early settlers in on the island of Roanoke, and how an entire settlement just disappeared and vanished with no trace. And then Cult, which dealt with the 2016 presidential election. Apocalypse, and then the recent season, 1984, which kind of did a spoof on Friday the 13th and those classic slasher movies, dealing with a group of camp counselors for the summer. So that TV show is a great series for anyone who loves the horror genre, who wants something different every season. That's a perfect show to watch. It's amazing. The acting is phenomenal. The special effects, the storylines, they always keep you engaged. So I would highly recommend American Horror Story to anyone who is a fan of the horror. And the nice thing about this, since it's an anthology, you don't have to necessarily start from season one. You can pick which ones you kind of gravitate towards more so, and you won't get lost.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to binge there. And as well as you mentioned it quickly, there are a lot of different horror movies playing throughout May Cinema here. So if you are one of those you want to see one of those cult classics like Nightmare on Elm Street, Beetlejuice is out playing tonight, as well as we'll see movies like The Thing and others playing next week. Abby St. John, thanks so much.
Thank you.